Let's go! Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. How is everyone doing today? Hope everyone's doing great, fantastic, excellent. If you're not, I hope things get better. This is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, reviews, and hey, let's take a look at what's coming soon, right? And sometimes we talk about game shows. This week, though, I mean, not game shows like, you know, The Price is Right, but like gaming showcases, I should say. So there's none of those this week, but I'm sure there'll be something in the future for us to talk about again. I think our kind of like E3 time, quote unquote, is kind of over now, where we've had all the major publishers and developers show off what they got, and now it's time to, you know, it's time for that calm before the storm before everything explodes in October, you know. October seems to be just the most jam-packed month for games, and it's gonna be interesting. My wallet is going to most likely cry, but you know, it's all games that I want that I've got pre-ordered for October, so it's not like I'm just buying every game that comes out, you know. I will not be picking up the Grinch game. Maybe we'll play that for Christmas. Or not for Christmas, but around Christmas. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. So, yes, welcome to Ferret 64. I'm Yemmy the Ferret. And sit back, relax, and enjoy some video game news and occurrences. But first, let's go ahead and talk about what I've been playing this past week. Couple weeks ago now, Diablo 4 came out, and I decided not to pick it up, even though I was kind of interested in it. And then, wouldn't you know, I was watching some people stream it, and, you know, a friend of the show, Odom K, who also has appeared on Film Freaks with a Z, he was having a really good time with it. And I was like, you know, it does look kind of fun. You know, I you know, coming from not really having played any Diablo game, I played the demo for Diablo 3 when that first came out. So I really have no experience in the realm of Diablo. So if there's something in this game that was in a past one or something that was excluded from this one, I don't know personally. But what I do know is that Diablo 4 is pretty good. I've been enjoying my time with it, and of course I'm not just playing solo. You know, I got Gritty Waffles backing me up. He's on the drums. No, he's playing Barbarian class, and I'm playing Necromancer. He's up close and personal. I'm a bit ranged, and it seems to be working out pretty good. And you know, there were a couple of classes to choose from right off the bat. I think there was one guy who could turn into a werewolf, which I was like, you know, maybe I'd like to play as that guy, but. And then, of course, there was like your rogue class, which is like a ranged and stealthy approach. The barbarian, you know, he just is at all attack, you know. So there was a good amount of different, you know, classes to choose from. Obviously, everyone starts at the same place, so you know, it's not like I forget the name of the game, but there was one game by, I think it was Crystal Dynamics or something like that, where all the classes started in a different place. So like the guy who was like an Egyptian started in Egypt, and this is not like that. Everyone, you know, you all start at the same spot, which I guess would make sense if you're playing in a party. You know, you're gonna have to start like in the same place. But essentially, the game starts, and if you don't know what Diablo is, it's a top-down, you know, action strategy game, pretty much. And on PC, obviously, it's a little bit easier to kind of like choose which targets you're attacking and stuff like that. We're playing on PS5, which I have actually not like. I've had really no problems with the controls. You know, sometimes my character will, you know, accidentally go for a enemy that's not close to me for some reason. And essentially what I do is I just stop attacking the one that they did auto aim at and reattack, and usually it goes to the right enemy. But it's not like the enemies are so difficult that like you could, you know, you're never going to beat them if you don't aim at them. Like I mean, your character is pretty tanky no matter what build you have. The only time that I've really been into low health is when we're fighting bosses, and I think that's the name of the game, right? You fight a bunch of little shitbags who don't have a lot of health, and then you level up, you get skills and stuff to use, and then that prepares you for the onslaught of a boss fight, right, or an elite fight or whatever. So we haven't been having too much trouble taking out like the normal enemies, and even some of the bosses that we've run into have been fairly easy to take down. There was one that got the better of us. Greedy died, and I was like running for my life until he respawned and came back, right? And it was one of those fights that like I felt like was a little bit lopsided because the boss was like steamrolling us and slowing us down and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my god, how are you supposed to like not die from this? But we ended up beating it, so it's not like it was a big roadblock or anything like that. But like so far, it's a lot of like little enemies, really cool enemy design, and a lot of variety in this game. Like each encounter kind of you have like completely different enemies in different areas and stuff like that. It's really been interesting, from imps to crazed people to archers and skeletons and demons and succubuses and freaking big fat explodey guys. There's all sorts of different enemies in here. Some of them more normal than others, like the wolves and the big tarantulas. Others more unique and crazy looking, like the imps and the skeleton warriors, stuff like that. So it's been a good variety, keeps you going. I mean, it's not like it's that big of a deal for me personally. It's more like enemy variety is more of a big deal to me in like a first person shooter kind of game, and maybe not even a first person shooter, but just like a game that touts like you're in this area, and like Dead Island 2. Variety matters to me because you got so many different locations, but it's not like it's grand big 40-hour game. So you want that, you want plenty of unique enemies. You don't want every single zombie looking the same. You want them to have different clothes on, and you want them to change in the different environments that they're in. And Dead Island 2 does a great job in that. Diablo doesn't have to do that, but they did put a lot of enemy variety. And a lot of times you'll just kill them in a couple of seconds anyway, so it doesn't even matter what they look like. But when you do see them and you get up close and personal with them, it's pretty cool. I like the enemy design, and I think that they did a great job designing some of the bigger monsters as well. Very cool stuff. And coming from a non-Diablo background, it's just a really nice, nicely designed like enemy design. It's not wholly unique in a lot of ways, but it's also it shines. It really does, and it really comes through. As for characters, obviously you can create your own character. You choose from one of the base classes, and then you build off of that. And there are a lot of branching trees for player progression. Like, I was not expecting so many branching paths. Not branching paths, but like different things that you could unlock for a character. The Necromancer alone, like within the first like couple of levels, you have wildly different perks that you can unlock, or abilities that you can unlock. From blood spears to turning corpses into bombs, to turning corpses into like tentacle monsters. You can summon, tons of skeletons to help you. You can summon like these ranged units as well who can freeze enemies. You have AoE attacks. You have buffs and debuffs that you can give enemies and yourself and friends and allies. It's crazy. I mean, there's so I barely scratched the surface, even though we're like level 20-ish at this point. Barely scratching the surface, but already having so much customization available that you can really hone in and create your character the way that you want to create it. And that is one of the things that I really appreciate about Diablo 4 here, is there's not just one key path. Like, obviously there's going to be abilities that you want over other ones, the premium build, as they would say, or whatever. But the ability to mix and match refund your abilities and get different ones, work things out, try different things. There's just so much, like, there's like hundreds of combinations, probably thousands of combinations per character. And of course, you can't equip every single perk at the same time. So, you just kind of map them to certain keys on your keyboard or certain buttons on your controller. And then you can hold down those buttons to continuously use the ability. Some abilities take your magic or whatever it's called. So you need to, like, use them maybe once or twice and then wait for it to refill. While other ones are just like regular physical attacks that, they don't need to recharge or anything like that. You can just keep using them. And what I've been using right now is like this ability that's just like a constant damage beam or whatever that constantly damages enemies. And then I also have like the blood spear that does a big amount of damage. And then I also have a debuff that slows down enemies and makes their attacks like half damage, which is really good. And of course I've been raising skeletons out of the ground and stuff like that. I was using this one that blew up corpses, but I ended up switching that out for another AoE attack that I felt was better, something that was a little bit more close range, so that I didn't get overwhelmed at times. I don't know what Greedy's doing. He's probably sorting things out on his own end, and yeah, it's one of those. It's one of these games that, like, I wasn't really sure about going into it. Like, I knew I wanted to play it down the road eventually, because it looks really interesting, and I love the aesthetic, of like this hellish, the hellish demons and the landscapes and stuff like that. And I'm glad that I picked it up now rather than later. For just because it's just a really good game so far. I've been really having a lot of fun with it, and even though the idea of it sounds boring, hold down a button to attack and attack thousands of enemies, who die in like one or two hits, right? But it's actually a very fun, like, cycle, And of course, like, part of the main thing about Diablo is picking up the loot, upgrading your character's armor and weapons and stuff like that. And there's plenty of loot, I mean, through like 7 or 8 hours of gameplay so far, I've already personally found several golden items and a red item, which are supposed to be the rarest of them all. But it's like a few minutes later, you get something that's better. So, it's almost like Destiny in a way, where, like, yeah, you're constantly switching out gear, you're constantly, improving your stats, and I guess that's a good thing, Sometimes, sometimes I would like to sit around with an armor set or something like that. I don't think there's a way to, like, make other armor look like the armor that you're wearing. Kind of like how you can in other RPGs. And that's okay though. Sometimes you'll wear a goofy shirt or an armored shirt, for a little while, and then switch out to something that's cooler. Just because the stats are better. It's the age-old meme. Um, And there is like a blacksmith to upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. I really haven't been using that because you usually just find something better anyway after you spent all the money to upgrade. I upgraded that red Reaper scythe like maybe not three, two times. I think I had enough money for two times. And almost like 30 minutes later, I was already using two different weapons after that, so it's almost useless to level up your weapons and stuff like that. I think I understand it better if, like, you're max level and you need a little boost, you could upgrade your equipment and stuff like that. But right now it just feels kind of worthless to upgrade weapons and armor and stuff like that. And even, like, buying from the shop weapons and armor also doesn't seem feasible because you're constantly finding better equipment as you level up and go through the game. So it's like, why even buy this 500 gold helmet when I'm just going to find one on the ground that's better, And I guess that's a bit of a negative with the game, but also it's like, I don't really mind, I've been through this process before with Destiny and stuff like that, where, you spend like 1,000 engrams or whatever the currency is in that game to upgrade some equipment, and you just find something better dropped from a boss about 20 minutes later, something like that, I've been through it plenty of times. So yeah, the story so far is Lilith, a demon from hell, enters into the world through a ritual, and she starts converting people over to sin or whatever. People, and you kind of like stumble upon like this little village that's like, oh my god, there's demons in this cave, please go kill them for us. So you do that. They party with you, they drug you, they feed you the blood of Lilith, and they're going to kill you, but you get saved at the last minute. So now that you have the blood of Lilith in you, you can use shrines to level yourself up without being influenced by her hellish beauty. I don't know. And you can also like see visions of the past of what she's done, who she's talked to, and stuff like that. So they kind of like that's how you kind of get the story information is through like a little bit of, a few dialogues, happening in the past that you kind of you stumble upon. And yeah, I mean, the cutscenes are like incredible. They're like 4K, like crazy good cinematics. The opening cinematic is so well done, like graphically, And when you get to the main game, like no, it doesn't look the same, obviously, but you kind of expect that because, like, this is the cinematic for a game that it's a top-down, tactical RPG kind of, So I'm not expecting to have the 4K graphics, the amazing detail, the crazy blood and particle effects and stuff like that in the regular Diablo experience. I'm not expecting that. I didn't go into it expecting that. Don't get me, don't get it twisted, okay? So I understand where there is a difference, but it is a bit jarring to go from that beautiful cutscene where Lilith comes out of the ether and starts killing people, right, or whatever she does. I forget what she does exactly, but she just kind of comes down and she's like, "Hello, I'm Lilith," and whatever. To the opening scene of when you actually get to control your character, of like being in a cave, coming out of that and fighting some wargs. It is a bit of like a harsh turn. I mean, the game doesn't look bad at all. Don't get me wrong either. The game doesn't look bad at all. It actually looks pretty good for a Diablo game 1, for a top-down RPG 2. I've played a couple of stinky looking RPGs like Diablo in the past, so it's not like it's not like I'm not used to a lower graphics quality for the base game, but it's not as bad in Diablo 4 as other games. That's what I'm trying to say. The game still looks good. I love the detail on the enemy designs. When you can actually see them before you kill them, they look cool. The details of the world is really nice. Walking through like these beautiful caverns and dungeons. And just like going through like these wide open spaces as well with trees and pathways and stuff like that. And of course, because this is a online only game, you have to have an online connection to play it. There does come the risk of like being disconnected while you're playing, losing internet connection and losing progress. The server's going down, so you can't even access the game. There's no offline mode at all. Which, I mean, if the first, I guess the first like week or two of the game being out, it was a bit rough because you couldn't connect to the servers. The servers were down. Right now, as we're playing, I haven't run into that problem. I haven't been disconnected. I haven't really felt any lag personally. I know Greedy was complaining about some lag here and there. But that seems par for the course with Greedy's online experience, honestly. But you do run that risk, and I know it is a negative for a lot of people with like, why do I have to connect online? Why do I gotta pay $70 for a game that I need to rely on the servers being up in order to play? And I understand that criticism, and I do agree, like, yeah, there should definitely be some sort of offline mode in this game or something that where you don't have to rely on the servers being up in order to play, right? But it is a core part of the experience to have that PvP, PvE, experience where you have people almost like Destiny coming in and helping out with world events. They can actually help you kill enemies. Obviously each dungeon is a solo experience or a co-op experience with your group of friends, But like when you're out in the open world, you can run into another player and help them defeat a group of enemies or help them do a world event. There's some that are like defend the person, from the vampires. Kill X amount of enemies in the time limit. There's a whole bunch of different things going on in the open world. There's so many different little world events, and of course they pop out chests with good loot in them, so you kind of want to stop and do them. And it's not like you need 15 players there to help out. You could do it yourself or with a friend or with like 3 or 4 people. It's not going to be the most difficult thing in the world. Probably if you're a solo player, it might be a bit difficult, especially if you start to get overwhelmed and there's no one around to help you. But I'm sure there's ways to offset that, of course. But, dungeons are a solo thing. Story mission stuff, it's all a solo thing. So you're not going to be with a group of like 15 random people doing a mission. And that's how it is in Destiny 2 as well, where it's like you go into a main mission and like all the people disappear from the map and you're on your own, right? And I hate to keep comparing this to Destiny because this is so much better than Destiny, in a lot of different ways. But it's where I'm coming from. It's where I'm drawing comparisons because of something that I'm familiar with, right? So yeah, I do like seeing other people's builds. You can emote to them, you can wave to them, say hello. You can expect their gear. You can party up with them if you want. You can add them to your clan. If you're a Diablo player out there, the Milk Clan is up and active on Diablo 4. So if you want to join the Milk Clan, I believe we're Milk 2 because there was already a Milk Clan, and that really kind of pissed me off. Should have been there. Should have been there day one to claim the Milk Clan, but now we're Milk 2, I think, which is unfortunate. But if you want to join, just send a request or let me know. And if you haven't gotten Diablo yet, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty, obviously the next gen tax is real, the inflation is real, so I understand not getting it right away, especially if you're not like into Diablo type games. But me personally, it's not that I wasn't into them, it's just I haven't really played a good one, right? I haven't played, one that's been crafted from the bottom up to be, to be the best it can be. I've played the shitty ones that are like, oh yeah, here's a free one you can play, and it's like, oh wow, this is awful, But you play something like Diablo 4, and it's like, oh, I understand now. I understand completely why people love this series and love these games, And obviously, I do know that they've changed things from the original, games, So it's not the, it's not the original Diablo experience that I'm having, but it is a very good Diablo experience that I'm having. I'm glad that I picked it up, and I'm glad that I've been playing it because it's been a really good time so far. I can't wait to get further into it eventually. And yeah, it's just been a good time. So I'm very satisfied right now. I'm happy with my purchase, and that's what else can I say? What else can I possibly say? Okay, so that's Diablo 4. As I've already mentioned before, I'm still playing through, like Final Fantasy. I was trying to finish a game this weekend, but every game that I'm playing right now is kind of long. So like, I was trying to finish the Book Walker yesterday, and the game just keeps kind of going. And it's not like I'm falling out of love, or no, I'm not. It's not like I don't like it anymore. The Book Walker is like the point and click adventure game where you jump into books and you steal something from the book, and you have to go through a couple puzzles, and you have to do a couple turn-based fights and stuff like that, and then you get your prize and you get the money, right? And it's an interesting game. It's pretty good. I think that the combat is lacking sorely. There's not enough to it. They really keep it interesting. But then again, you really don't do a lot of combat at all in the game. It's really sprinkled in there, like a fine like barely. There's barely any combat in there after that first book that you went into. So yeah, I'm pretty far into the game now. I want to say that I'm getting close to the end because I've just been playing for a while, and like the concepts inside these books are really interesting. I talked about before. I talked about the instead of Thor using his hammer to fight Nordic gods, he uses it as like an energy source, and he profits off of it, right? There was another book where it was like the twist was like, oh, you're not actually in a medieval dungeon, you're actually in the present, and there's an alchemist who has been living for so long, but he needs to keep up the facade, More recently, I did one that was like around the it was a sword and a stone kind of ordeal, and King Arthur's court and stuff like that. But it was really like futuristic sci-fi, and you were like in a spaceship that had the sword, and they were flying around from planet to planet trying to find someone who was worthy to pull the sword from the stone. And so that was kind of a weird odyssey there. Um, but yeah, I mean, there was one that was like a Harry Potter ripoff that like it was like wizards in the real world and they were dueling with technology and like, whoa, we shouldn't, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, it's interesting. It's interesting. It is like the concepts for these books are like ones that I would probably want to read, right? I would love to read the book about Harry Potter where the headmaster pulls out a fucking revolver to shoot the guy who stole his wand. Like that's an interesting concept, or the King Arthur thing where it's sci-fi and they're flying around to different places trying to find who's worthy of pulling the sword from the stone. Like that's an interesting concept. I would love to read a book about that. Playing it in the game, it is interesting and it is enjoyable, but it's not the full experience, and it's kind of like, it kind of makes you wish that they were playing, you were playing through like a Huckleberry and Finn, or insert a book here like Lord of the Rings or something like that. It does kind of make you wish like, I wish I was actually playing through a book that I knew, so that I could like draw some parallels or kind of know more about the world. But instead, you get dumped into a fake book and you don't really know anything about the book, which I guess works with the character, because the character himself doesn't really know these books, but he has a little helper that does know the book. So I guess it kind of makes sense that you drop it into a book that you don't know. But still, it would be cool to kind of go into an actual book, one that I've read and actually play it. I think that'd be interesting. So yeah, I mean, the Bookwalker, it's still pretty cool. It's on Xbox Game Pass if you want to check it out for quote unquote free. I think it's worth a playthrough so far. Like if you like point and click games, it's pretty basic for what it's worth. But I think that I think I think it's just interesting. The part about it is like it's interesting, and that's why I'm sticking with it, because it is very interesting. Even though the combat's not interesting, the story and the worlds you go to are interesting, and that's what really matters the most, for the most part, for a game like this. Yeah, I've also been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 16 still. Um, it's been a lot better now. I talked about it last week, but yeah, I'm like fully into it now, fully invested into it now. There's of course there's a lot of like runaround kind of quests, in the game, and I think that's par for the course with a lot of RPGs. You go to a place, you collect something, you go back. It's the normal stuff, but right now the combat's been super engaging. The boss fights have been bombastic and amazing. The story beats have been really, really good. So if you haven't checked out Final Fantasy 16, it's the Final Fantasy for all of us. There's a lot of Final Fantasy games that are not for everyone. You think about Final Fantasy 7 Remake, the original Final Fantasies that are turn-based tactical, turn-based RPGs. There's a lot of those. You think of like the over anime aesthetics of a lot of the Final Fantasy games as well, which will turn a lot of people away. Final Fantasy 16 hasn't been like that. My criticism of Final Fantasy 7 Remake, where the anime noises were super apparent and they were just all over the place and being annoying, is not in Final Fantasy 16. Like, sure, there's still a couple of like stuff like that, but it's not super overbearing like it is in Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which makes the experience a lot more enjoyable for me, because I don't really like. Yeah, sure, I'll watch an anime here or there, I've been trying to watch One Punch Man. It's really fun, it's not like I hate the anime for the anime noises, but it does, like when it's overdone and like in your face and every single dialogue, it can get really annoying. In Final Fantasy 16 though, it's much more based in like a more medieval, almost reality setting. I mean, obviously just magic and stuff going on, so it's not like that realistic, but for me personally, it works. It works really well for me personally. I mean, if you're a person out there saying like, well, this isn't a Final Fantasy, this should have been a side game or a spin-off, this shouldn't have been a mainline Final Fantasy game. Look, I'm not the developer, I'm not the publisher, but it says Final Fantasy. It says it's the 16th one. Every single Final Fantasy is kind of its own contained story for the most part, why isn't this a Final Fantasy, right? I get it. It's more action based. It's not turn based. Blah 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 blah. Does it really matter? I guess it does to a lot of people, but to me personally, it doesn't matter. And this is the first true Final Fantasy game that I've actually really enjoyed and played enough of to say like, yeah, I'm like 20 hours in. I couldn't say that about Final Fantasy 15. I played about 3 hours. I mean, I played a lot of Final Fantasy 7. I think we hit the 36-hour mark before I stopped playing it, but Final Fantasy 16 is the one that I'm enjoying it. It's really good. It's fun. I've liked the story. I've liked the combat. Leave me alone and let me enjoy this in peace. you know? It's not like anyone's like poking me or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, I've read, Twitter is obviously a cesspool, so on any post there's going to be some sort of stupid comment, but I've been trying to ignore that more so now than ever at this point. But it slips through the cracks. You get that one stupid comment that's like, "It's not Final Fantasy. This is not Final Fantasy." It's like, I don't really care. I'm enjoying it. What does it matter? It could have been Balan Wonderworld 2, and I still would have enjoyed it if it was exactly the same game, but just called Balan Wonderworld 2. You know what I'm saying? All right, and other than that, I replayed Medal of Honor Airborne. This is the one where you jump out of a plane at the start of every single mission. The missions are way longer than most Medal of Honor games, so there's only like 6 campaigns you go through, all with a 1 level each. But they're big, they're massive. They're multi-objectives. And I gotta say, like, there's a lot of stuff that I really like about the game still. I played this game back in the YouTube streaming days. It's been a couple years at this point, and I really liked it back then. And I think I gave it like a B tier, and I stand by that. It's like a 3.5 out of 5. It's a nice B tier type game. It's not going to be a game that totally blows your socks off, because there is a lot that's still kind of like wrong with the game in a lot of ways. But the gun upgrade system is really great. The levels are really well crafted up until that last one called like Flak Bunker or whatever it's called. I think that level is probably the worst designed level out of all of them, and it's the most ridiculous one because you have these enemies who can like take like several headshots before they die. But leading up to that is like really great level design. I really enjoy the level upgrade system. I'm sorry, the gun upgrade system, where you like get new attachments for your weapon after so many kills or so many heads, so much XP earned with the weapon. And, the PC version, as opposed to the Xbox version, has way more attachments for your weapons, I'm pretty sure. I remember, I remember playing with the Thompson in the Xbox 360 version, and you get, like, the steady aim thing, you get the grip, and you get the drum barrel, and that's it. In the PC version, I feel like I'm getting more stuff. I feel like I got, like, 5 or 6 attachments rather than 3, which is really cool. The problems arise where it's like, if you die or have to reset, jump out of the plane again, you get checkpoints along the way, but all the progress towards your weapons and stuff like that don't save unless there's a checkpoint. So even if you upgrade your weapon several times, before a checkpoint, and then you die and have to restart, you get sent back all the way to the original XP of that weapon, which is really super annoying in my opinion. The weapon should upgrade, separately from your character progression, you know what I'm saying? And then also, like, you can't see your weapon progression on the weapon select screen. You can select any weapon that you've picked up in the weapon select screen before the mission starts. They don't show you your progress with the weapon on that screen, which is really a missed thing there. Like, that would have been great, so I could actually know which weapons I want to upgrade. Because during this playthrough, like, I already knew what the M1 Garand upgrades to. It gets a grenade launcher. I already knew what the Gewehr upgraded to. I already knew what the Thompson upgraded to. So I was working on the other weapons that I didn't really use during most of my playthroughs, like the Kar 98, the MP40, the shotgun. I was using the Panzerschreck at the end of it all, the bazooka, the German bazooka. And, like, the upgrades for that are kind of crazy. You get, like, a better iron sights. You get, like, 17 rockets able to be held onto you at the same time. It's kind of crazy how that one upgrades, and you barely get it throughout the game, too. The other thing that's kind of annoying is, like, pistols are completely worthless in this game, and they don't upgrade, which is kind of weird to me, too. Like, that's such a weird thing. Why wouldn't you upgrade pistols, make them a little bit better? Because as it stands, when you get to those final 2 missions, your pistols are so they're just pea shooters. It takes an entire clip to kill a guy sometimes. It's kind of ridiculous. And the same thing kind of with grenades, where like a grenade has to be like right next to an enemy to damage them. It's kind of ridiculous, which makes it really hard to upgrade those as well. That's also compounded on the fact that the AI in this game for the enemies is completely abysmal. They are so stupid. Their tactics make no sense. They sometimes will just stand out in the open. They'll sometimes not. They'll just stay in the same place in cover for hours on end while you're shooting at them. I think that the cover system for the AI is good because they peek out at different places. They move every so often, but the main AI for the enemies is really really stupid. Other than that, like I feel like this is definitely worth a playthrough for first-person shooter fans, people who are fans of World War II shooters. I think this is a really good one. The fact that you parachute out of every single at the beginning of every single level, and you can like find like these expert places to parachute into, or you can just go the regular ways as well. I like that idea. It's much better than Medal of Honor Vanguard. Well, it is better than Medal of Honor Vanguard. Maybe not that much better, but it's still better than Vanguard, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. And the other thing that's a little bit weird about Medal of Honor Airborne is the fact that every single chapter in the game, like Operation, there's like whole bunch, like Operation Husky is only one level. You go in, you parachute down, you do the entire thing, and you're done with that, with Operation Husky, right? But it makes sense because these levels are so long. Like they take like an hour to do each, because there's so many objectives, so many places to go to. These maps are big and massive, and I like that. And you don't really see that in modern games anymore. Medal of Honor Airborne is kind of like a sole proprietor of this style of level where you can go and do whatever mission you want. It's a big open world. You can, if you die, you parachute back in and you pick back up where you left off. And I really like that. And it's unfortunate that this never really caught on. Most first-person shooters are much more linear in their single-player campaigns now. Even the Medal of Honor games that came out after Airborne, like it's all strictly linear progression, and linear progression for weapons too, where it's just like, hey, here's a couple attachments on here, blah blah blah. So yeah, Medal of Honor Airborne definitely it's one of my guilty pleasure games. I'll go back to it every so often. But it's definitely worth playing it once at least. I think that it's pretty cool. I enjoy it a lot. So there you go, Medal of Honor Airborne. For games that we streamed, we finished a couple of them this week because they were either shorter or one and dones, or we were finishing up one of them. So we've been doing the July Plus. It was June Plus. Now it's July Plus game. I'm just playing a bunch of games that I got from PlayStation Plus, trying to get through as many as I can within these 2 months. We're spinning a wheel to decide what game we play next. So it's completely random. I've been really enjoying it because you never know what you're gonna get. Maybe you're gonna get one of your favorite games, your new favorite game, or maybe you'll get a game that sinks right into the F tier. But we finished up Darksiders 2, Definitive Edition. And it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's not like the best game that I've ever played, obviously, but I found the game to be pretty enjoyable. It's a hack and slash with not RPG, like Zelda-like almost properties. It's kind of like a Metroidvania. But it's more Zelda-like, where you get an upgrade and you go to a new place. You get an upgrade, you go to a new place, you get an upgrade. The boss fights were pretty cool. There's a lot of good boss fights in there. A lot of interesting puzzles, lots of puzzles to do in the game, and obviously the difficulty ramped up towards the end. We pretty much kept the healing axe the entire time, which was like OP and I'm sure that the best scythes that you can get would also have been OP because they were also like on hit you get health back, so pretty cool. But yeah, I mean it's definitely it does have that bit of indie jank to it, and it's just like it's this big bombastic game, but there's a bit of platform issues in there every so often, glitches in there every so often. But in general the game's good. I enjoyed it. I gave it a B tier. I think that it's good. I think it's worth a playthrough if you have not played it. We also played Super Meat Boy, which You know, it's Super Meat Boy. It's a classic. Like, what can you say? It's a platformer nightmare. It's one of those games that like it's designed to make you frustrated, make you redo levels over and over and over again. Luckily though, I mean the levels are like 20 to 30 seconds long, so like restarting is not too big of a deal, all things considered. But I don't like how Meat Boy feels, and I know that that's probably it's probably just a design of the game. They wanted Meat Boy to be a super floaty and unpredictable character, but to me personally, that just makes for a very annoying experience because it's just I like my platforms to be a little bit more accurate. I'm not like a super negative. I'm not a super hater of floaty games. There's a few floaty games that I really enjoy. Like Mario 64 or Sunshine. I mean, I guess 64 isn't that floaty, but Sunshine's pretty floaty. Bowser's Fury, pretty floaty game. Um, the original Mario games are super floaty. If I played the original one not too long ago, and I was like, wow, this is like if you think Donkey Kong Country is floaty, like this is the float master right here. So, but like Donkey Kong Country, the Donkey Kong Country games, they got just enough float to kind of make the platforming really satisfying, right? They skim this line here. Like I don't mind the floaty, the bit of float that's in those games. Same thing with Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. I do feel it more in that game after kind of like playing a little bit of it recently. Well, not recently, but a little while ago. So I kind of feel it now, but it's not too bad. It's not something that's been really that annoying for me personally. But Super Meat Boy, if Mario Bros, the original Mario Brothers games are the float masters, Super Meat Boy is the float protege. Like he just I understand, it works for the game, I suppose, because a lot of the platforming is like these long jumps or these really precise jumps. So like having this float in there obviously is going to help most people out, with like. But for me personally, I just hated the way that Meat Boy felt, and that was the biggest negative for me. Like everything else is fine. Like the level design is great. I like the idea of there's like this quick death, go right back into it. Quick death, go right back into it kind of aspect for the game. Obviously, the difficulty ramps up. The Cotton Alley stuff, which we did not do. I started it and I was like, nah, 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 nah. Like I'm kind of like over it. But like, yeah, I mean, the difficulty ramps up. There's tons of content. Like, if you're a person who wants the most bang for their buck, Super Meat Boy is that game. Like, there's so much content. There's so many different characters you can unlock. There's so much to do in the game. You're gonna spend like $10 on it, and you're gonna get like $60 worth of content, right? And that's the great thing about this game too, is like there's just an unlimited, almost seemingly unlimited amount of content and replayability inside this game. For me personally, I got the credits to roll, and that's really all I care about for right now. Maybe I'll get back to it and play some of the other levels, but like I wasn't enjoying how, like, if I enjoyed how Meat Boy controlled, or I was enjoying the challenge, maybe I would have played more of it, and maybe it would have lasted us another stream or two. I don't know, but to me personally, I just didn't like how Meat Boy controlled it all, and I saw the credits roll, and I know it's not the true ending or anything like that, but I saw the credits roll, and I was like, okay, I'm satisfied with that. I'm done. B tier, B as in boy, B as in Meat Boy, and then finally, we played all the way through Type Rider on Saturday, this last Saturday. It's like a 2 hour game, and it's like an educational game where you go through like the history of typography, and how language was created and stuff like that. So it's more educational than game. But the problem is, like, the game sucks. Like, Super Meat Boy, I didn't like how Meat Boy controlled it all, but the colon that you use to control Typewriter, or the character you use to control in Typewriter, so who's a colon, sucks so bad. Like, it sucks so bad. Like, they want you to rotate the colon to do different things. You can like wall jump with the colon, but it's super inaccurate depending on how your the two dots, the two balls you use for the colon are. It's so weird. It's such a stupid concept too. Like, it's such a stupid idea for a colon as a character that you use in a game. it doesn't make sense even to the mechanics of the game itself. You're learning about the different fonts and typing and how the printing press worked and all that stuff. And so you choose a colon as your character? Like, this makes no sense, you know? They control like ass too. Like they truly control like ass. Like, sorry if you worked on that game, but it's a bad game. I apologize, but it's a bad game, you know. For an educational purposes, it might have been good, but there's way too much reading. Like, I understand putting in some lore into a game, you know, especially like this where you're learning the history of these people and the inventors and stuff like that. For the first two levels, I read every single blurb that they gave you. You know, you collected these little asterisks, and they would give you like a page of a book to learn about the character, the person who was behind this invention or this part of the printing press or this part of the typography history. And that's all fine and dandy until it just becomes overbearing. There's just so much to read. Some of these things have like 5 paragraphs to them. And I'm sitting there reading and I'm like, holy shit, like, it's interesting, sure, but you could have totally melded this into the experience of the game rather than having it be a separate thing that you read, you know? Instead of me reading a paragraph about the inventor of the Times New Roman font, you know, maybe put in a section in the game where you follow him inventing it. You do platforming on the letters, and you maybe you have like a voiceover that's like that's the guy, you know, saying like, oh, you know, whatever. Just dialogue or something in the game to make it interesting, you know. There's so many things you could do to integrate this experience into the educational process of the game, you know. How, like, because where it stands, you know, just as an example, one of the first things you learn about is cave paintings and how they, you know, in the lore, the little page, the lore page, it tells you how they would paint the hands with, like, you know, different materials, and they could actually spray paint their hands on instead of painting around them, right? And it's kind of interesting, you know, it's kind of cool. But the section in the game is literally just the cave painting hands in the background that they discovered in France, and you roll past them, and you jump down a little ravine past some spikes, and that's it. And then it moves on to the next thing, which is like the Rosetta Stone or whatever, you know. It's like, and then the hieroglyphics part comes up, and once again, this is like, oh, I could be platforming along the hieroglyphics and learning about the different symbols, and, you know, maybe we get some voiceover about, like, with a person maybe reading what you were rolling over or something like that. That would have been cool. But instead, there's a stale picture of the hieroglyphics in the background that they discovered in the pyramids or whatever, and you roll past them, do a few platforming things, roll past them. It's like, why aren't we actually learning through the game? Why do we need to pause the experience and read in order to learn about what this game is trying to, you know, educate us about? You know, I get it. You know, it's an educational tool in some sense, and I get that. You know, the game is separate from the education stuff, you know. But for me as a gamer and a person who is interested in learning about what they're trying to show, you need to meld the experience together better. There's plenty of educational video games out there that do this really, really well, okay? But, you know, Assassin's Creed is a big one. You know, even though it's not like super accurate, you know, but you still learn about like these different figures, and you get, like, you know, obviously if you want to learn more, you can open up the Codex or whatever it's called, and you can learn more about, you know, the characters in the game or the people that you meet, you know. You know, and there's you know, you meet plenty of famous historical figures who are pretty well represented, you know, from Napoleon Bonaparte in Assassin's Creed Unity to George Washington in Assassin's Creed 3. There's plenty of characters in the Assassin's Creed 2 through, you know, through Revelations, you know, that you meet that are famous figureheads. You know, you meet Winston Churchill in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You know, there's so many characters that you meet, and you kind of learn a little bit about them, and you kind of interact with them. And that would have been so cool. Like, you know, let's say you do go up against, you know, like, let's say, you know, you do this part in the game where it shows you the printing press and how it kind of works. You know, maybe we could have, like, platformed across like an actual printing press and done some platforming challenges to make it work, you know. Turn the little swivel thing, press down, you know, put the ink on the letters, you know, choose which letters you want, you know, stuff like that. That would have been cool. And maybe there could have been a little boss fight with the machine itself. I don't know. As it stands, though, when you go through the original printing press part, It's just one single printing press that goes down and up very slowly, and you go past it, and that's it. And there's really no educational thing there other than you can open up the lore and read about it. So for that purpose and many more, including the bonus level, which was a 2012 meme cringe fest about Comic Sans, which they could have also made interesting. In the little lore snippet they give for the Comic Sans portion, which is just a very cringy representation of memes of that time. Like troll face, cats with kittens with glasses on, dolphin, whatever. Just a bunch of like random stuff that's from those old days of memes before they were really called memes. They had like a really interesting segment where it's like, with the technology we have nowadays, people can actually make their own type fonts, and they can, Comic Sans came about because, blah, 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 right? And that's interesting. That's super interesting. Couldn't we have had a whole level based on people making their own fonts, You don't have to name Photoshop or anything by name, but, you could still be like, this person, they put together this font and made it publicly available. And now with this technology, millions of people are using Comic Sans. Millions of people are using Impact font. Millions of people are using blah, 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 But instead, you have this stupid meme-filled level that isn't, that you need to run away from a cat behind you. And every time you jump, like, the colon's like, yippee! And it's like, oh my god, shut up. The troll face appears at one point. It's just a major cringe fest, They took what could have been a really interesting concept and just made it bland and cringy. And for that and many other reasons, Typewriter, F tier, 1 out of 5. All right, let's move on to what's in the news. All right, so the news section is probably going to be a little short this time around, but there are some things I want to discuss here. So if you don't recall, Yuji Naka was facing prison time and fines for insider trading, which he admitted to. Yuji Naka is one of the creators of Sonic. He also joined Square Enix at some point and created Balan Wonderworld, and also made a new company like Balan Entertainment or something like that. Complete flop. What more can you say about that? So Yuji Naka was actually sentenced. He was found guilty of the charges of insider trading. So he is sentenced to prison, but it is a suspended period of 4 years. So he could face prison time if he goes back and does insider trading or deviates from the conditions set by the judge and commits further offenses. So if he doesn't do any more insider trading, if he doesn't do anything bad for 4 years, he won't have to face the 2.5 years of prison time. But he does need to pay a $1.2 million fine for his insider trading. Now, this is obviously going to cover all the money that he got from the insider trading that he did. So at one point, he was aware of a Dragon's Quest mobile game, so he purchased shares in that developer, and he sold them when the game was announced at the highest price he could. The same thing with Final Fantasy: The First Soldier. He purchased stock in that and then sold it for about $163,000 at the height of its I guess stock levels. So the 1.2 million is probably just all the money he made from that. It may be and probably more. So yeah, I mean, yeah, of all the people to get busted and do this kind of thing, you would never have guessed in a million years the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog would be one in there. You think he would be well enough off for his character and stuff like that being used, but people make stupid decisions, and this is obviously one of them. In the court hearing, he actually pled guilty to the charges, and he showed remorse for his actions during court hearings, which is why the sentence is the prison sentence is suspended for 4 years. He needs to show that he actually is remorseful and that he won't do it again, right? So yeah, Yuji Naka not going to prison, but he will face some money charges, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that bad, honestly. So yeah, I guess if anything else pops up, we'll talk about it, of course. But as of right now, the case is closed. Next up, Street Fighter 6 is launching its Year 1 Character Pass. And on July 24th, Rashid will be joining the roster. Rashid was my favorite character from Street Fighter V when I played that. He's what is he, a Middle Eastern kind of character. He's got a really cool design. His moveset was also really fun to use as well. Lots of wind attacks and stuff like that. So he will be joining the character roster on the 24th of July. If you want to check out the announcement video for it, just head over to Street Fighter's YouTube channel. Looks like his moveset is relatively the same. He's got a lot of the tornado stuff and the wind attacks, which is funny because they actually added that new girl into the game who has like wind attacks as well. So it's kind of like wind on wind, you know. And I'm guessing you'll be able to meet him in the story mode and choose his play style as well. So if you want to check him out, like I said, he'll be available in July here. Which is fun. And it looks like he also has a costume variant, which is the one from Street Fighter V. So there you go. I don't know if did they show off any other characters? I don't think so far. But yeah, I like this addition. I think he was a great character. I wish he was on the base roster, but yeah, what are you gonna do? If you don't recall, Xbox Game Pass's $1 deal was taken away a couple months ago. But now it's officially returned. It's been reintroduced as the $1 offer once again to people who are new or returning to Xbox Game Pass. I'm guessing they took it away when they were raising the prices of Xbox Game Pass in most regions, and they didn't know how that was going to affect the $1 deal, I guess. I don't know. So they took it down, now it's back up. So it first returned on the Polish website, on the Polish site, and then it eventually came to the UK, US, and the rest of the world. So if you sign up for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass, you'll get the first month for $1, and then of course the subsequent months will return to its normal price of like $10 a month. But Xbox Game Pass, I mean, it is the best deal in gaming right now. It gives you the most bang for your buck, the most games that you're gonna want to play. Like you could subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, and maybe you love Ubisoft and you love their games. You still get more variety and more bang for your buck in the Game Pass, honestly. And this is coming from someone who enjoys the PlayStation and the Switch over the Xbox, but at this point, and someone who has been very critical of Xbox in the past, especially during the Xbox One era. So having this like great Xbox, I mean, Microsoft or Xbox is literally running off of Game Pass. It's been proven. So. If you want to check that out, the offer is back for returning and new Xbox members. The Super Mario Bros. Movie will be streaming on Peacock in August. So you'll be able to stream it for the base price of Peacock on August 3rd. So you only have to wait about a month before you're able to watch it at home on the streaming service. Yeah, not much else to say there. It's going to include cast and crew interviews, a Peaches lyrical video, and much more. If you want to hear my thoughts on the Mario movie, just head back a couple of podcasts ago. It's not going to be on YouTube, but you can check it out on the Spotify version. If you wanted the DVD, it's obviously that's been available for quite some time. 4K, Blu-ray, regular DVD quality. If you want that. Personally, as I've said before, I don't think I need to watch this movie ever again. It was fun, and it did its job. It did its job really well. I think I ended up giving it like a 4 out of 5. I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's good. I didn't mind the voice acting as much as I thought I would, especially for Mario. I was very surprised. But yeah, it's not. It's like it's one of those movies that's like I already had watched like half of the movie because of trailers, and like. Yeah, maybe that's partially my fault, but whatever. And like the final part of the movie was like, it was fun, but what are you gonna do? I was I didn't personally feel like I needed to watch the movie again, Also, fuck Seth Rogen. Okay, so Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 5 has been fully announced. We already knew about a couple of things coming around, but now we know the full list of courses for the pack. Of course, we're getting a couple new characters like PD Piranha, Chemic, and what's his face? Wiggler. So we're gonna get Koopa Cape from Mario Kart Wii. This was a pretty fun map. Really enjoyed that one. Los Angeles Laps from Mario Kart Tour. Never played this one, of course. It's a phone one. Also from Mario Kart, we were getting Moonview Highway, which I also hear is a pretty good one. And then we're also getting the brand new course, Squeaky Clean Sprint, which looks really fun too. You kind of drive through a bathroom, which who doesn't want to drive through a bathroom? Also, we are getting, hold on, Athens Dash, which is a Mario Kart Tour map. It looks kind of cool, but with these Mario Kart Tour maps, they usually aren't that great. Now here's the big one, Daisy Cruiser from Double Dash. This is one that I was really hoping for because it was my favorite one from Double Dash. You pretty much just drive along a cruise ship. And I really enjoyed this one. This one was a really good map, so I'm glad that they're adding that one in. Sunset Wilds from Mario Kart Super Circuit. It's it looks fine. It's it's one of those flat levels. And then we're also getting Vancouver Velocity from Mario Kart Tour, which, I mean, god damn, do we not have enough Mario Kart Tour maps on the list already? Like, I don't mind them, but usually they are lower on the course listing. I know last time the what was it, the Hong Kong level or whatever was my favorite, but like, it's like 1 in a million, It's like, one course out of like the 17 that they've released for Mario Kart Tour is like generally one that I would want to go back and replay, But a lot of these Mario Kart Tour maps, they're like, yeah, they're fun for like a couple times, and then it's like, okay, they kind of had the same gimmick, But yeah, I'm really excited about this. So the Feather Cup is going to feature Athens Dash, Daisy Cruiser, Moonview Highway, and Squeaky Clean Sprint. And the Cherry Cup is going to be Los Angeles Lap, Sunset Wilds, Koopa Cape, and Vancouver Velocity. And of course, once this drops, I will, of course, talk about it on the podcast. These will be available. Wave 5 will be available on the 12th of July. So that'll be this coming week. So that'll be pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. All right, the new NBA game, 2K24, is going to have Kobe Bryant on the cover, the late and great Kobe Bryant. He's gracing the regular edition and the Black Mamba edition of the game, which is like the deluxe edition, I'm pretty sure. We don't really know anything more about the game right now, other than that the game is going to feature crossplay for the first time in the franchise's history. So you'll be able to play between PS5, Xbox Series X and S, which will be pretty cool. It will not extend to last-gen consoles like PS4 or Xbox One. They aren't even including PC, which is kind of crazy to me. But I think that's a pretty cool feature for the game. For the first ever time, it's going to be a bit of a crossover there, which is really nice. I've been enjoying 2K23. I think this is the one that came to PlayStation Plus. It's actually been kind of like a generally enjoyable experience, even though I've lost like every single match. I have lost every single match against Greedy Waffles, but I'm still having fun with it, so that's one thing. So the Black Mamba edition comes with 100,000 VC, 15,000 MT points, and a bunch of other digital content, including a Sapphire Kobe Bryant cover star card for use in My Team. There will also be a 25th anniversary edition, which comes with a 12-month subscription to NBA League Pass, allowing you to stream live basketball matches online. There will also be a WNBA-themed version exclusive to GameStop retailers in North America. And a special edition will feature New York Liberty star Sabrina Ionescu, I think is how you say that. So there you go. Probably going to be about the same as last year. Maybe they're going to skip out on the single-player content. I'm not sure, but we'll wait to see for that. And finally, for the news today, thanks to Coco, we know that Marvel Spider-Man 2 is coming to San Diego Comic-Con. And you're going to be getting an hour of gameplay, or an hour of information, I guess. Maybe not specifically gameplay, but at least an hour of new information about the game. So hopefully we'll be seeing some gameplay in there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely keep your eyes open and peeled for that. This will be on July 20th. Hall H, if you're going to be there. But yeah, July 20th, we're going to get a bunch of new information about Marvel Spider-Man 2 So very interested about that. We'll see what they're going to show off. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to the last part of the show, which is what's coming soon. All right, Assassin's Creed Mirage. They released a get to know the assassin, get to know Bazim. Now I know Bazim showed up in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and obviously he was probably a lot different from his younger counterpart. But essentially, we're going to be playing through the first part of his journey, where he starts as like a like a street rat who is stealing his way to live. You become an assassin. You join the Assassin's Brotherhood to find out why you're having like strange visions and stuff like that. And then, you just become a master assassin. You're the master of stealth in this game. And obviously, as they've already said millions of times, it's a more stripped down game. It's not going to be as big as Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins and stuff like that. I believe that there are still some RPG elements from the newer games in there, but I'm very interested to see exactly what they're doing with that. They also revealed that you'll be able to kind of like switch up the colors of your costume for the first time in a while. All the way back in Brotherhood and Assassin's Creed 2, so you can actually switch up the color scheme with different color palettes and stuff like that, which is really, a throwback to the original games as well. So far I really like what I'm seeing. I've been wanting Assassin's Creed to go back to the basics for quite some time now, especially after Valhalla was just such a huge experience. I could barely get through like a couple hours of that. I got very overwhelmed really quickly. So I'm very interested in seeing what Mirage is going to offer. Looks like it's going to be a good game. I'm very interested. I know that there's going to be some detractors and some people who are like, oh, fuck this, But for me personally, I think that what I've seen and what they've shown off has looked really good so far. A little skeptical about like the auto assassination thing that they've talked about, but it's like a special move, so you can use it like once in a while. I'm guessing it's gonna be fine. And also, the combat seems to be pretty cool too. They showed a little bit more of that in this little gameplay demo as well. So yeah, I'm excited. What can I say? I don't know what else I can possibly say. I think it's gonna be a good game. The problem is that it's releasing like a little bit before Alan Wake. It's releasing a little bit like before Marvel Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, and it's also releasing a little bit before Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So it's like, yeah, it's like, oh man, like we're really packing this like week of games, And I do feel like maybe we should, I don't know, maybe move it to like September, like a month that doesn't really have too much going on. But they're not going to do that. So, Assassin's Creed Mirage still coming October 12th. Looks good, in my opinion. Diablo 4's Season of the Malignant has been revealed. Starting on July 20th, you'll be able to play this post-campaign season. So essentially, players are going to face off against malignant monstrosities born of Lilith's corruption. This has been revealed as part of the developers' live stream that they recently did. A short trailer was revealed, which was kind of Eldritch in nature. In this season, players will investigate a mysterious illness plaguing the people of Sanctuary with the aid of Cormond, a former priest of the Cathedral of the Light. Cormond, versed in all kinds of unsanctioned practices, will teach you how to harvest malignant hearts and convert them into build-altering powers. These malignant hearts, of which there are 32 across 4 categories, can be placed in special infested sockets in jewelry, providing powerful new abilities to build around. Tackling them all down will keep players busy for a while. In the new Malignant Tunnels, replayable dungeons full of fearsome foes that feature the boss, Varshan the Consumed. So there you go. So they're not waiting too long to pump out their first season here. So that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty good sign. So if you finish the game, here's some new content for you to try out on the 20th of July. Immortals of Avium had a new gameplay trailer. It was labeled as mature for audiences, so it's kind of weird because there really wasn't anything that really happened in the trailer personally that would have made it like not suitable for younger audiences. But essentially, it just kind of showed like the different magics that you're gonna use. Like the red magic is like for close combat. Um, Blue is for long range attacks. Green is rapid firing with homing options. So like they kind of showed off like the different colors of the magic spectrum here. Um, Personally, I think it looks kind of cool. After seeing some more gameplay of it, it's a first person magic shooter that's all single player content. So there's no multiplayer, which is kind of a breath of fresh air in a lot of different ways. But also, I understand why people would not really want that. To me personally, it's a lot of visual mumbo jumbo. I've changed from visual garbage to mumbo jumbo because it sounds better. There's a lot going on the screen, a lot of particle effects, a lot of lighting effects, a lot of different things to do, right? And that kind of like makes it a little bit awkward. It kind of makes it feel like Gods of Godfall, or Forspoken, in a lot of ways. I think this will be better than both those games, but it comes out at a really weird time as well. Like this one comes out the 22nd of August, and it's only for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. But yeah, it comes out like I think it comes out like right before another game comes out, right? Or during I can't remember. But anyway, as a new IP in the gaming space, it looks like it's gonna be kind of cool. Graphically, it looks pretty good. If you want to check out the trailer, it's on Immortals of Avium's YouTube channel. I think it looks pretty cool. But like I said, it's a lot of visual mumbo jumbo. That's all I can say. Helldivers 2 had a surprise video drop on PlayStation's YouTube channel. Just showing off the different co-op elements, showing off the new way that the game works. There was a guy with a jetpack. There was a couple different weapons they showed off. A couple of different like abilities and stuff like that. Like you could throw down a supply drop on enemies or a mortar drop on enemies. Some different environments they showed off as well, like this crazy sandstorm, mountain regions, jungle regions, giants like monsters, insects, and stuff like that all over the place. And like I said before, like Helldivers, the first game, like it's a pretty fun co-op game, but it didn't really take off, I don't think, because of the perspective and how it was, I don't know, it just wasn't really like my thing. But this Helldivers 2 game, they've rethought the entire thing, and they have really made it into something that's going to be more viable in a lot of ways. Apparently, there's a PvP mode if you want to do that. So yeah, if you want to check out that trailer, it looks pretty good. That is available on the PlayStation YouTube channel, and yeah, I'm not sure when the game coming out in 2023 sometime, so there's no official release date yet, but we do know that's coming to both PS5 and PC, so there will be some crossplay there. Pretty cool. Mortal Kombat 1 showed off a new trailer as well. What was it called? The Lin Kuei trailer, which was pretty much all the different ninjas kind of getting showed off. So essentially, I mean, this trailer confirmed a lot of stuff. Lots of characters confirmed, lots of different things confirmed as well. Smoke and Rain are going to be playable characters, fully playable characters in the game, which is crazy. Rain he was like a bonus, like a DLC character in Mortal Kombat X. He also had like a half character made for him in Mortal Kombat X as well, kind of like Baraka. And then Smoke hasn't been in the game since Mortal Kombat 9, which is kind of crazy. So that's cool to see him come back. And then also in this trailer, it showed out that Smoke is sure he's still using his smoke abilities, but he has like this kunai or something like that with him that he uses for combos now. And then they also showed that Rain has like a staff he uses for the water attacks, so that's kind of cool. But that's not all. They also confirmed 3 new cameo characters: Cyrax, Sector, and Frost. So that's pretty cool too. Frost is going to be a cameo character, Sector and Cyrax. Hopefully Cyrax or Sector or whoever is a playable character, because I really liked using Cyrax in Mortal Kombat 9. He was a pretty good character. And they also showed like some of the brutalities. Not brutalities. Fatal blows that you could do. So like it's like half your character that you're using and half the cameo character that's coming with you, which is pretty cool. I really like that. Very, very gruesome, extra bloody, extra crazy in this one. And then they also showed like another fatality at the end, of course. That's how they do it. And this time it was smoke. So essentially what he does is he cuts open the guy's throat and then shoves a smoke grenade or something into his face, and it blows up. And yeah, it's bloody, it's gruesome, it's what you want from a Mortal Kombat game. But yeah, I mean, from this gameplay, they've shown that like they've definitely changed things up with a lot of different characters, and that's good. So I can't wait to check that out when it comes around. It's still going to be coming in on September 19th. So if you want to check that out, you can. And don't forget to pre-order it to get the Shang Tsung or whatever his name is. All right, Pixel Junk is coming around with a new game called Eden 2. I really enjoy a lot of what a lot of the Pixel Junk series games. Shooter Ultimate was my favorite for quite some time. And it still is probably my favorite Pixel Junk game in general. But Eden 2 brings a chill platforming adventure to all the different places coming around. But yeah, it's like a very artsy kind of game, like the platform is kind of, it's not like a normal platformer where like you're jumping from platform to platform. Like there's different characters who have different abilities, kind of like that WarioWare game. Get it together, right? But essentially, you got one guy with like a grapple hook, you got one guy with like a jetpack. There's a couple of different ones to unlock, and it does look like a very nice kind of game. Very stunning visuals, very cool visual style, and we haven't seen a Pixel Junk game in quite some time, so I'm very interested in playing this. Did they give a release date for that? No, they did not give a release date for it, but I'm guessing it's going to be coming out soon. Definitely check out that trailer if you're interested on PlayStation's YouTube channel. Pokemon Sleep. Finally, we know what Pokemon Sleep is all about. Well, as you may have guessed, it's about sleeping. Essentially what you do is you feed and do whatever you need to do with your Pokemon during the day, and then at night, stuff happens. You sleep, and stuff happens with your Pokemon. They're going to be releasing the game in late July on phones. So if you're an Android user, you can pre-register on Google Play and get notified when the app goes live, or on iOS users, you can stay alert for more updates, so there's no way to pre-load that, I suppose. But yeah, essentially, the aim of the game is to fill out your sleep style decks by letting the app track your sleep so that it can tell you what style you napped in the night. Each way you sleep corresponds to select Pokemon styles. Sleep in that style and check the Pokemon off your sleep style decks list. Simple. So yeah, Pokemon was before with Pokemon Go, they were saying, get out there and do stuff. And now they're like, okay, now get a good night's sleep. In the video, they showed off Snorlax. So essentially you feed Snorlax during the day, and, Snorlax needs to build up his strength. Then you combine a strong Snorlax with a good night's sleep, and you stand a higher chance of attracting more Pokemon to your sleep decks. Outside this main objective, the app operates like many other sleep trackers, measuring when you nod off and wake up, how much you moved in your sleep, and even recording any sounds that you might have made while you were off into the land of the dreaming. Which is kind of weird, I don't know if I want my phone recording every single noise I make, What if I do an extremely loud fart, and then I can listen back to that? I guess it'd be kind of funny. Finally, the video stated that in order for the app to work, you have to have your phone plugged in and placed face down on your pillow or in your bed with you, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. So there you go. Pokemon Sleep, coming soon. Here are some games coming to the Game Pass in July. So already released right now, we have GTA 5 on Xbox One and Series X and S, Sword and Fairy Together Forever, McPixel 3. Those are all available right now. On July 11th, we're getting Common Hood and Insurgency Sandstorm for the PC. On July 14th, we're getting Exoprimal. And then on July 18th, we're getting Tectonica, a game preview, and The Cave as well. So if you want to check that out. And then here are games leaving on July 15th. Exo 1, Paw Patrol the Movie, Adventure City Calls, and Spelunky 2. All those are going to be leaving on July 15th. So make sure you play Paw Patrol before that goes away for good. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I do appreciate that. If you want to check me out, I'm on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We're playing through PlayStation Plus games. Should be a good time up until the end, okay? Also, if you want to check out the other podcasts I do, Film Freaks with a Z, we talk about movies. The latest episode is about Rumble in the Bronx. The next episode is about Parasite featuring Player 2P2, fan favorite. Let's go ahead and play Guess That Song. If you give me the song name or close to it and the game it came from, I'll give you a free super reaction. What's today's song? Play it right now. All right, if you know that song, come over to the Discord and post it in the Fair64 Discord channel. Or comment on this episode of the podcast down below, and I will let you know if you're right or not. All right, folks, appreciate you listening to this episode or watching if you're on the YouTube version. If you want to check me out anywhere, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret or Yemmy the Ferret VODs. That's where I've been uploading shorts and live stream VODs to YouTube. Anyway, I'm Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. Have a good rest of your week or weekend, and I'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye. The Fair64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.